Hello, my name is James Francis Peter Marsh. I'd like to tell you a little story. I was speaking with a man in Florida State Prison some years ago, maybe 35, 40 years ago, on W Wing. It was protective custody at the time. They also there housed death row inmates that I used to visit. But this particular day I was in W Wing. And I was speaking with a man. I thought he was about 44 years old. And I just had a conversation with him as I normally did. And I asked him how old he was. He said 25. And I said, well, what's your plan? He said, well, I'm going to be getting out tomorrow. I said, well, really? Congratulations. He said, yeah, I did 5 years of hard time. And I asked him, I said, well, what are you going to do with your life? And he said, well, I'll probably go back and get my old job. And I said, really? And what would that be? He said, stick up man. He said, I've got a homosexual in San Francisco that's going to take me in. He said, I'm going to get a pistol and go back to my old job of armed robbery. And I have talked to, at that point, to a lot of people in prison. Back in 1973, I started in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. I moved from New York to Atlanta. And then I also went into Fulton County Jail. I did that for 2 years, full time. And then I moved to California, Southern California, San Bernardino. And I would commute to Chino Prison. And we started a ministry there. And then also all the federal penitentiary there and some other San Quentin up Northern California, but mainly Chino and Norco. And then for a year I traveled to prisons around the country, and then finally ended up in Florida where I did 7 years of full-time prison ministry there. But this particular fellow struck me because he was honest with me, for number one, and he wasn't going to lie to me. He knew I came out of the chapel as a volunteer. So he said, I'm going to go back to my old job, which was stick-up man. And I said, now wait a minute, you did 5 years of hard time. Why don't you just get a job, pay your bills, and live a normal life and stay out of prison? He said, look, you tell me, why would I push a broom for $125 a week when I can make that in a minute or 2 minutes? And in a sense, in a worldly sense, the man had logic. But you know what? A thought came to me immediately. And I said, sir, it's wrong. And he just laughed and smirked and walked away. We were in a day room. But that was a defining moment for me, because I realized that when I speak with someone, especially incarcerated, which I haven't done in a while, but what I would always look for is, do they have a conscience? Because obviously this man had no conscience. He didn't care. But, and I started analyzing people that I talked to. One fellow on death row named Robert, he said, look, I can't talk to you. And I said, why? He said, because I want to break out. I said, break out? He said, yeah, I want to tell you the truth. I don't want to lie to you. He said, I want to. And I reached in and shook his hand. I said, thanks for being honest with me, Robert. You're one of the first ones that ever was honest with me. And I realized that, hey, this guy got a conscience, you know? There were other people that went to the electric chair that had a seared conscience. And I would say it was almost like someone took an iron on an ironing board and ironed their thought process, to where the Apostle Paul said that some people have a seared conscience. And it's a knowing within yourself that there's a right and wrong. And I met so many people that had no conscience. And I share that with you because it changed my whole life. Because from that point on, whenever I spoke with someone in a conversation, that would be my thought. Does this person have a conscience? Or they defend themselves? Like this fellow went to the electric chair and they said, you got any last words? And he said, I just wish that I had those people that I killed sitting on my lap right now. And he had no conscience. and it's a chilling thing. And but I share that with you because sometimes people go through life and not stop and think. And there is a right and wrong. And we're living in a culture now that has it upside down, where even the government is supporting and defending people that are wrong. There's certain things that are wrong and there's things that are right. And historically in America, people have always tried to do what was right. You take that World War II generation, they wanted to make a choice. And it was a choice when they woke up in the morning. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to pay my bills. I'm going to pay my taxes. I'm going to pay every bill that I have and do the right thing, make the right choices. But now we're calling evil good and good evil, and we've got it upside down. But I share that with you because it's helped me in my own life, that God would have me have a tender conscience, that if there was something that I needed to correct with someone, I would go to that person, whether it's to my wife and ask forgiveness or anything, any little thing. But it's always good to clear your conscience and to go through life making proper and correct choices. And I want to thank you for listening. I hope this made a little sense. And God bless you today. Bye-bye.